Hey everybody, welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerica.
And I'm Leah.
So, we've been reading this week.
We've been chatting. We started chatting without turning the recording on, which is bad. You guys, you need to hear what we're saying.
Is that not what we're supposed to be doing? I thought our whole purpose was just to hang out and talk about books.
Yeah, but we need to hit record first.
Oh, right. So other people can also hear us talk about our books.
Exactly. So I'm not just telling you
what
about
this
the books.
podcast is about.
Because if I just tell you, then the rest of you won't know what I said, and that would be sad. Or will it?
I don't know if they'd be missing too much. Well, they would be missing our banter. And all of the amazing side books that I read, including this week, since I got so ahead of our reading schedule for our podcast.
Yeah, you're way ahead now. This is.
Do you know why?
odd.
Do you know what you did? You put in audiobook choices, so I got to listen to it while I was working, while I was driving and cooking, and then it went by fast.
Yeah, no, I think, like I was saying, I think I'm too into my very basic teen romance books right now that I'm just not prioritizing this, listening to this. Like, I'm reading these books, and they're all about, like, 16, 17-year-olds falling in love, and it's super predictable. It's very sweet. It's very clean. There's no section whatsoever. It's just, there's like, it's like a kiss at the end of it. Right?
It's a Hallmark movie in a book.
There's like the third one that I'm reading now, because I read two, but they were by the same author, Casey West. I've read some of her books before. They're okay. Like, this is how I would rate them. A solid 3. They're okay.
All right.
But then I started reading this other book, and they're actually kissing in like the first 100 pages. So I'm like, ooh, this was developing faster. But now I'm just waiting for everything to go to shit instead, Like, that when you have 200 plus pages left and they've already had the kiss and they're already happy, then things are going to go to shit.
Or it ramps up and they make a baby.
Yeah, but they're like 17, so...
Still.
If they ramp up and make a baby, we'll be going to shit.
I guess so. I decided, since I was ahead, that I could treat myself with a little typical Jerica bad book decision making. I actually said that too. I was like, I will read something that is like with mages and dragons and multiple love triangles. And so I decided to look at, I loved Wicked Gods by Michelle Hercules.
Yes.
So I was looking up what is similar to this. Mm-hmm. And Storytel delivered. I can tell you that much. There is a book called Protector by Serena Nova. It's the Full Blood series. And they are not gods. They are witches that have elemental magic.
Okay.
And she is she knows, so it's not a secret to her, but it's a secret to everybody else, that she is the last royal alive. Because they've slaughtered the rest of them. Mm-hmm. And it's since her great-grandma.
Okay.
So now she is with the 4 kings of the castle. And guess what? They're all bonded to her. I'm obsessed. This is a reverse harem surprise. Magic. Oh, all the triangles you could hope for.
That's not even a triangle. It's got like a
It's a
5,
quadruple.
Like, they would be 5.
It's
people.
5. It's a quin, something.
Maths.
There. Maths. Quintuples are 5 babies, but I don't know.
It's not a quadrant. It's I don't know. What is one with 5 angles? I don't know. We're going to have to Google this. While I Google shape with 5 points. Okay.
Penta?
Yeah, that might be it. That's
right. Pentagram. Is 5.
Pentagon.
Pentagon. Wow. We went to school, everybody. We promise we did. All of the schools.
Many years.
Even the university schools.
So many years of school. Yes.
But now I choose to read reverse harem.
You run your own company. We do our basic maths.
This is true. Yeah. But in my private time when my brain is broke, I listen to reverse harem magical witches.
And this is where the terms Pentagon... we should have known this. The freaking building in the States is the Pentagon. It's because...
that one.
We started watching Y: The Last Man.
I haven't seen this.
Oh, it's a comic book that I haven't read that many comic books. Like, my husband's really into comic books, but he only made me read the good ones. So I'm very critical about comic books now because I read like the best of the best. So anything else, I'm like, this is so bad. Mm-hmm. But I read Why the Last Man about 20 years ago, which is freaking, how does time move so fast? like 20 years, this does not.
Actually, that's very fast.
20 years ago. Right? Anyways, it's finally been made into a TV show, a TV series. It was meant to be a movie, it was meant to be a TV series. It's been through all the ups and downs and reshoots and recasting and all of this and stuff. But it started now, and they're actually in the Pentagon, which is why I was thinking about this. And it's this, it's not a virus, it's kind of like a pandemic movie, but it's basically on a day all men and all male of all species die. Just like this on the same day.
Oh no.
And there's just the one left. Yorick. So he is Why the Last Man. And he's like a loser, escape artist. Is his job. He's trying to get out of a straitjacket and give like magic lessons to kids. And like he is not he is not really like the
top of the gene pool.
Exactly. I mean, no. And it's all just women and girls left, like.
Is this man attractive?
He's not bad, but I don't know. It's not like.
He's man. Okay.
And men and transgender men are like women trans men, I guess. Is it? I'm bad with this terminology, but women that became men. Yes. That would be transgender men, right? I think so. Yeah. They're also there, obviously. Great. Still. But it's like so many professions that are just where women are underrepresented, which is why it's really important that we keep working towards equality in the workplace here, because what if we lose all the men? Happens. Then it would be great if we still had, I don't know, pilots and doctors and engineers and, all of the stuff to keep our society going. I'm pretty sure we would be
like, guess what? Now people recognize that women are in fact pilots and doctors.
Yes. So yeah, I've been watching that. That's fun.
Cool.
And they're in the Pentagon to bring it full circle.
Oh, great! So now we have
because the president obviously dies.
Five corners is called a Pentagon.
A Pentagon, yeah.
You're welcome, everybody.
A Pentagon love triangle.
Here is Pentagon love triangle.
It's not even a triangle. It's a love Pentagon.
Love Pentagon.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm in full support of it, and we're at the very end of the first book, and she's slept with the first guy now, and it was so fantastic. And now she's read a book that her great-great-grandma also had 4 lovers, and she wrote,
because this is what you want to read about, your grandma's love life.
Great-grandma's love life, hell yeah. Please, Grandma, give me all of the wisdom you have about lovemaking with 4 men at the same time.
I do not want this.
You don't want any of this?
I don't want any of that.
I would love for my grandma to sit with me and tell me stories about her sexcapades. Do you know what my grandma says? She would rather be punched in the face than have sex. And she has 5 kids.
That says a lot about your grandpa.
He is long gone. She has had 3 husbands. None of them are alive. And she still is, and still she says to this day, would rather get punched in the face. So that's where I'm bred from. We have come a long way to my interest in multiple partners. Although this never happened in my life, but it happens in my book fantasy.
Well, living vicariously through books, it's a good thing. It's a good thing because we get to live all sorts of experiences that we don't really want in our real life.
Do you know what I saw on my way here to your house today? There was this teenagers hanging out, and one of the girls had elf ears, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Is she born with elf ears? I would love to go and talk to her and be like, badass ears, chick. She also had a little bit dyed hair, like orange pinkish kind of thing. And I was like, this girl's name is Pixie. There's like no other way she has a different name. And when I walked by, I noticed that her ears were actually these...
They're like the cuff?
The cuffs.
Oh, I love ear cuffs.
They were ear cuffs that were pointy on, like pointed ears, cuffed on top of your regular ears. And one pointed out from her hair and the other one was like more visible. And I was like, God, you're so cool. Like, I want to be you. I want to like turn back time and be like that teenage girl that had ear cuffs that looked like elf ears.
I mean, sometimes I get like this, I would be so much better as a teenager if I got to be a teenager now. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I should be allowed to relive my teenage years, knowing the shit I know now, and being like a better at everything, pretty much, than I was.
When I take a check of how old I am now, I think to myself, no. No, I'm not that old. What do you mean?
No, of course not.
I'm not in my 30s. No. I don't feel quite teenagery, but sometimes I do.
I don't feel teenagery at all, but I think it's because I have a teenager, and my son is a teenager, and he's terribly teenagey, and it's not fun for the parent side of this. I'm just saying. I'm sure I was a much better teenager. No, he's pretty sweet, but I'm still sure I was a better teenager.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was an angry teenager. I went through like this gothy kind of emo, screamo music, and I wore some scandalous stuff. My mom kept saying, if you gotta flaunt it, and I was like, high five, Mom. Also looking back, poor mothering. I will not be using that sentence to my girls. No. If you got it, hide it.
Not even. You should just, I keep telling my kid, I'm like, you should be comfortable in what you wear. Be comfortable. Make sure you are comfortable. Yeah. Whatever. Anyways, we read about teenagers a lot. And in the book that we read today, God, no, not today. We read it this week. It's the last time we say goodbye by Cynthia Hant, and it's our suicide book for Suicide Prevention Month. And Jerica is struggling with
my
this.
Face.
Yeah, she struggled. I had to pep talk you through this book.
But I had so much stuff. We had our gender reveal party, and I was like, I'm gonna listen to this book. Okay, it's a good book. Like, it's emotional. It's well written. It captures all of the angles of dealing with suicide. I mean, not all parts did I love, but because I don't like suicide, you say you banned it in your house, and I have most likely banned it from all of my lives moving forward. I am so anti suicide, and so I didn't want to read it because I knew it was gonna make me in a mood.
Yeah,
like melancholy.
I mean, and it was melancholy, and I really. It was very well written, though, I think.
I know.
I found Alexis, the main girl, I felt for her. I was there for her. I was with her every step of the way. I understood where she was coming from. I understood every choice she made through this thing. Like, even though I wanted her to be like, just talk to people.
I know. There was a very poor communication in this book.
But I also understand why it was hard for her to talk to people. But
nobody talked to anybody. None of the characters talked to each other in this book, whether they were dealing with stuff or not dealing with stuff.
Apart from Sadie talked to her.
Okay. But still, she was like, I'm not going to talk about it.
No, but she talks about it with Sadie. I think it's when Sadie comes back in, because Sadie is like her next door neighbor girl that she's not really... She used to be best friends with her, and then they grew apart because Sadie became emo. And Alexis is not. Alexis is a high achiever, going to MIT, smart. But when Alexis' brother Tyler kills himself, Sadie reaches out after a bit because her dad died a few years earlier. And it's when she realizes this connection that they actually have a death in the family, even if it's not the same thing. She does talk to Sadie in a way. Yeah. And she helps, she helps her. But I mean, it's just all this guilt. I think that was what really got me, because everyone's feeling so guilty about this. Yeah. And they're all taking on the blame for why he decided to take his life. Whereas when they describe it like that day, like his last day, what he does. Yeah. I was so angry with him because he spent so much money. Yeah, but it's so selfish. It's just, it is so selfish. And I understand that he was not in a sound mental state and that he probably saw no other way out and he was in a really dark space, all of that. But it is still so selfish all the way through. Yeah. Of not only like... other than calling the ambulance, that was not selfish. That's not selfish. Finding your child or brother dead would have been like 10,000 times worse than finding him, like going to his dead body at the hospital.
So that was the least selfish
But
thing that he
like
did.
the money thing, it really
Yeah.
got me. Like the fact that he goes and he buys all of these new clothes and shoes and like expensive stuff, like basically spending his mom's savings on what? On
Things
things
he'll
he's
never
gonna be
eat.
buried in?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That really pissed me off.
To make it seem like he had his best day ever. Without any worry about anything. He
Yeah.
got to have the Nikes he wanted. He got to
Yeah.
eat the stuff he wanted to eat. And,
Yeah.
you know, it was like his death row day.
Yeah.
Last meal kind of thing. And he got to spend as much money as he wanted because he didn't have to think about it afterwards because he
Exactly.
was going to be dead.
And then calling Dennis
Yeah.
and texting Alexis. And yeah, she probably should have called him back.
Yeah.
But she was busy. Let's be realistic. Like, you can't just drop everything and call people back
No.
all the time. But if she would have called him back, I don't think it would have changed anything because it would have been the same. Like, Dennis did actually speak to him. And he was just talking.
It might have just changed.
I think he just wanted to say goodbye. And because that's what Dennis says, right? He just wanted to say goodbye. He doesn't
Yeah, but-
actually want to be talked out of it.
But then when she talks to him in a dream at the end, he said, I did say goodbye to you. You said
Yeah.
bye.
Because he said, I love you when they left in the morning.
Yeah.
And, but
There's not a real deep mental health issue that I have, like, I give passes because I'm so against suicide. I give passes to people who have been dealing for so long. There's this famous guy, Rob, the comedian.
Robert Williams?
Yeah, Rob Williams. What is
Robbie
it?
Williams.
Rob? It can't be Robbie Williams.
Because Robin Williams.
Robin, thank
Because
you.
Robbie Williams
Wow.
is the singer.
Robin Williams is a goddamn
really
legend.
bad at stuff today.
No, my brain is broke. I already explained
But
this.
you have an
so-
excuse. You're pregnant. Like, you lose your brain when you're pregnant. What's my excuse?
I don't know. But it doesn't matter. Robin Williams, when he committed suicide, I mean, we grew up with him in TV and movies and in so many different characters and ways. It made us feel like we were part of his family in some way or another. So I was actually affected by his death in a way where I cried. I had just watched this sitcom with him in it about ad sales or something like that.
Okay.
And my dad loved it too. And we laughed and we're like, oh, this was like a great sitcom that he did. Like, I'm so glad he's back on TV or that kind of stuff. And then when he committed suicide, and then at the aftermath of that, when we found out how deeply depressed he was and how many times he went to therapy, how many times he tried different medicines, and his wife and his children and people around him saying that it was like a lifelong challenge for him to come out of the darkness. And he tried so many times. And then it just overtook him.
Yeah.
And I give him a pass for that because he tried.
Yes, he did, for sure. And in this one, Tyler doesn't try.
He doesn't try even a teeny bit. He was
mean, he
like,
goes to
I blame
therapy,
my
he's
dad
on
for divorce.
medication.
I'm 16 years old and
Yeah,
my
and
parents
then
are
the whole-
divorced.
Then
And
he asked his dad to come back.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, the dad clearly did not handle that well, and the mother didn't either,
no,
honestly. Like,
but if you're going to divorce, you explain to your kids why you're going to divorce. You don't make your kids think that it's their fault.
no, for sure, and you need to be more mature and you know, put the kids first. I understand that this is probably hard, obviously, because I'm not divorced, so I can't really speak to how it would be, but, I mean, you would hope that people would be responsible enough to put their kids first, because... I mean, yeah, you're hurt and you've been left, whatever. I mean, grow up. It's your children, you know?
But I feel
better
like
for
his
them.
mental unhealth was really light. Like he could have been.
But if he struggles with depression, because we don't know if it's light, she does say that he has depression and he has a hard time getting out of it, and he puts on the facade and he plays at being happy and he gets good at faking it, but in reality he's not, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I mean, we don't know how severely depressed he was, and
That's true.
but it still felt
There was
like
nothing that he.
it felt like it could have been prevented, and then the other kid dying too.
Yeah, and then when I messaged you, I'm like, is this a suicide pact book? I have to get out of it.
Yeah.
I can't read about any more suicides. And to make a collage as if like that's the...
But I think in this case, Tyler actually wanted to die. The other kid, he got the idea and he went with his friend kind of thing.
How mad would you be as a mom?
Oh, I'd be so pissed off. Oh my God, they'd be dead. But I'd ground them for life.
Ground? Ground them? Fucking like...
Literally, I'd put them in... No, God.
Take them out of the grave.
No, and I'd put them in the ground. No, that's terrible. That was bad. Anyways, that's not... I mean, I would be so pissed off. But all of this...
Yeah.
Then that note for the mom, like I talked about it last week,
yeah.
I could not, like, Mama was below empty. Like, it sticks with me, like, I actually remember it, because it's like, if I ever got a message like that, like, no, I can't even think about it. No, so,
but this
again,
book was emotional.
It was.
Well written, but it's a trigger warning around for this book.
But it was very well written. I was very sad towards the end.
You cried, yeah.
I did, yeah. Towards the end, when they describe his last day, and when she comes to John, when she starts to forgive herself, because she does that in the end, and she starts moving towards being better, being healthier, and she starts actually working with her therapist, and she forgives herself, and she tries to forgive herself and her boyfriend and her dad and her mom. Like, she takes steps towards moving on, which is great. But I find... No, I just wanted to say, too, that it is... Your mental well-being is really important. So if you are feeling sad and depressed, you should seek help. We said it last time. We said it the time before. We're going to keep saying it. Yeah. It's really important. So don't let these dark thoughts overtake you. Seek help. There are always people around.
Continue to reach out. Don't send one message and be like, she was busy. I die now.
Yeah, I sent a message. She didn't call me back in 5 minutes, so that's it.
Where's my gun? I don't approve. No suicide allowed.
And you know, guns in the house. I'm not even going to get into that. It's not like it is. Yeah. No, we're not going to talk about
gun control. It's not allowed.
Gun control should be
guns in the house, not allowed. Suicide, not allowed.
Yeah. So done. All right. Moving on.
I have to say, this next book I started to read before I finished reading the last time we said goodbye because of the melancholy, and I wanted to be in a tiny bit better mood for my own baby gender reveal party. And I got so hooked on this book that I think I finished it before I even finished our last one. So, we are reading The Traitor Prince now.
And there's only one cover for this book.
By C.J. Redwine.
And the cover is a crown.
Yeah, with red rubies.
With red rubies. And there's... I mean, it would be a face, but it's like metal, liquid metal, I think. In like a circle. And then there's cuffs. Like, from the chain.
It's iron.
Yeah, iron cuffs. And it says The Traitor Prince. So, I mean, what do you think this book's about?
It's about
There's
going to be a Traitor Prince. And no, there's rings. And I think that the rings, and because I have read this book, I know now that they're arm cuffs and not rings. But to me, I would see this and think it was rings. Mm-hmm. And think that it has to do with some wedding. Like, has to do with some... traitor, maybe the prince is a traitor, or the wife he's going to marry is a traitor, something about that. Yeah.
But you have finished this book, but you're still going to read us the prediction you did of the 3 chapters.
Yes. So I won't give it away.
I won't give anything away because I have not finished this book. I'm way behind right now.
You're not technically behind. Everyone else hasn't even started it yet.
I still feel behind. I feel behind. Okay. So based on this cover, would you pick up this book? Well, clearly, I mean, we did.
Yeah. I think that I would pick this up. I would think that this has a little bit to do with, like, the thorns from Game of Thrones, you know? Like, it has that kind of a dark royalty vibe to it. So I would pick it up for sure.
And for those of you who don't know this book, and I don't know if you know this, but The Traitor Prince is actually a book 4 in a series, but they're not actually...
all the same.
No, they're all like retelling of fairy tales.
Exactly. So
and this would be a retelling of the Prince and the Pauper, right?
But it's called the Ravenspire.
Yeah. And the first books in these ones are the Shadow Queen, and then it's the Wish Granter and the Bloodspell are also part of this series.
Yes.
And maybe even more books, but they're not related like that. You can read them; they're all individual stories.
Exactly. I don't think any of the characters run over, but I'm not so sure. I haven't read the rest of them, but it doesn't seem so. I hope that because once we find out in this book that there is a elf, I hope that another book has that elf kingdom in it.
Maybe.
That would be pretty cool.
Possibly. So anyways, we start this book with a prologue where we're with Rahim, whatever. I've written it differently in 2 different places here in my notes. So it's Rami or Rahim. Okay. Anyways, doesn't matter.
The trader could.
Who thinks he's the son of a king but was never claimed, and he grew up with his mother in poverty in a desert town. He is very angry. He feels he should have been raised in luxury in the palace. He feels like he should be the true heir for the crown, and he's manipulative little shit, this one so far. And even in the prologue, like, he's paid his attention, he listened, and he managed to put himself in the way of these nobles that are plotting to replace the real prince with someone else. And he shows his face, they're like, whoa, you look just like the king. Yes, we can use this kind of thing. Yeah. So they bring him, and he's going to replace the real prince. And you think, well, that's going to be hard. They're going to have to look like twins in that case. But the real prince has been away at school for the past 10 years and has not seen his father or pretty much anyone around. So it's not that crazy to replace him. Basically, he was 7 when he was left home. And these people that want to replace the real prince with this fake one, they are angry with the king for taxes, and they still want to own child slaves. All sorts of lovely things like this. Not great people. No. And then we meet the real prince in chapter 1, Javan Najafai. He is the crown prince of Akram, and he has spent, like I said, the last 10 years at school away from his home.
He's like a super nerd, and
he takes his schooling very, very, very serious. Yeah. He studies all the time.
No
He's roommates with the crown prince from another kingdom. Yeah. And this other guy is like, come on and drink with us. And Javan is like, no, I need to practice and study, and I cannot leave anything to chance. I need to make my mother proud, and I need to make my father proud. This is what I promised. And then I already found a continuity error in in chapter 1, so I got annoyed, and this did not help. So this roommate crown prince asked him to go out, and he's like, no. But when I'm at home in my hometown and I'm back there, I'm going to invite him, and we're going to go to... And then he starts describing all of these taverns and what the alcohol tastes like, and I'm like, didn't you say you were 7 when you were there last? Like... When have you been out to all these taverns drinking all this alcohol?
Maybe it's like Scotland. Maybe 7-year-olds do know what alcohol tastes like.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Anyways, so he's about to do his final test in school, which is some kind of trial combat thingy. But Javan's not really worried because he might not be the best at all the individual challenges, but he is the best strategist. So he has a clear strategy for winning this. He spends like the whole evening before the trial just walking around the arena, like making sure he knows everything that's going on kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then during the trial, he does this shortcut and he gets attacked by a dragon, which turns out to be Drakon, which is a person-dragon shapeshifter.
Shapeshifter, yeah.
So we're right in Jerica's lovely territories here of dragons and elves and all sorts of stuff like that. So he manages to wound it and get away, and then when he gets out to the field, he shoots his arrow into the dragon's eye, and he flies away. And he gets the highest honor at the graduation, but when his graduation ceremony happens, his dad's not there, even though he was supposed to be there, and Javan's like, fuck this shit, I've done so much good work, I've worked so hard, I've done everything I'm supposed to, and he can't even fucking be bothered to show up when I've done 10 years of school and I haven't seen him in 10 years. I'm gonna go out and get drunk with my friends.
But we know from hearing about Rahim in the beginning, and the people that are plotting, they mention that they have been giving a tonic to the king every day that basically breaks him down and makes him very unwell.
Yeah, so they're basically poisoning him slowly.
So that's why he's not there, not because he's a dick dad.
Javan doesn't know.
Javan doesn't know. No.
And then he goes out getting drunk with his friends, go dancing, and when he decides to go home, he leaves to go pee, and he gets attacked and knocked out. But before he gets knocked out, he hears his attacker speaking a peasant version of... Is it a language or is it an accent? I wasn't sure, because they're different kingdoms, but they doesn't talk about different languages, so I wasn't sure. And then we're with Rahim, whatever. I'm gonna have to figure this out again. And he has now stolen Javan's identity, and he kills the school's headmaster to make sure, because he insists on having a final word with him before he leaves, and then obviously realizing that they are not Javan. So he kills him. And
he kills the headmaster.
Yeah. And it's his first time killing someone, and it doesn't feel as good as he thought it would.
But then he loves it.
We don't know that yet.
He says it soon after. He was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
This I can imagine doing one more time.
All right, so I predict here that...
Okay, that's where we ended.
Javan, I don't know if I ended at the right place, but this was where I did my prediction.
Okay.
Javan will use his mad strategy skills to get his identity back. He will have the kingdom and find love along the way. So he will get his kingdom back and he will find love along the way. Rami will learn that being a ruler is more than he thought it would be and will happily hand back the crown when defeated. Happy ending! This is my prediction. I was very tired when I wrote this. So, not sure this is how it's going to end. But I'm going to stick by it. Maybe they will all die in the end.
My prediction was kind of this like typical Leah. I predict democracy. I predict love. That's actually what I had written in the beginning. I was like, I predict democracy because he's a strategist and the traitors are trying to take over the kingdom, and as they're doing it, they're fucking shit up, right?
Yeah, probably.
So I predict that he is going to find his way back to the kingdom. There's going to be a ton of murdering, obviously. I didn't know there was going to be love, but I said I predict love, but where? Along the way. I don't know.
Clearly, someone's going to need to help him. He can't do this all by himself. It's going to be some awesome kick-ass girl, and you know it, and they're going to fall madly in love. He's going to open his eyes to some new kind of difficulties because she's going to be like a peasant or something. You know, there's going to be something going on.
He's going to learn lessons, and then he's going to kill a bunch of people, and then he's going to help his dad and become the king and make it all right in the world. I predict a happy ending also. But it reminds me a little bit of the beginning of A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Which this was compared to.
Was it?
Yeah, it's in the description in Storytel. For fans of A Court of Thorns and Roses.
It was, because they're getting into this battling for your righteousness and that kind of stuff. And
it's a lot of praying to gods in this book too. They pray all the freaking time to different gods.
Yeah. There's a healthy amount of gods in it, but none that come into play.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Like I said,
I hope so.
I'm not as far.
Is there more? This is the only one. It's over at the end of this, or is there more?
Of this book?
Yeah.
I think it's a standalone, I believe. So, I mean, clearly it's more in the series, but they're all about different fairy tale things.
Well, I will read more of this author's books because I loved it.
Yeah, so, you get to tell us all about how much you loved it next time. Now let the rest of us catch up.
Okay, catch up.
We'll try. We have to do other stuff too. You can't just be reading all the time.
What
joking.
kind of a life are you living?
Of course, you all know I would much rather be reading than all of those other stuff. But sometimes I have to do other life stuff too.
We met new neighbors this week, and she's a doctor, and she said, I really like to read, and I was like, we're gonna be best friends. And she's like, I'm turning in the main bedroom, they don't have kids, into a library. And I said, I have this friend, Leah. And if she were to have a hard copy of every book that she's read, even just the books that she's read in the last year or 2 years, this would fill easily up our whole house. So we have this imaginary library on our phones. And you know what Johan said? Really nice thing. That means that you don't have any ego. Because you don't need to prove to people of how many books that you're so good at reading books.
Put it on Goodreads and post it regularly.
You just have a podcast to tell people about it.
To tell everyone about all the books we read.
Take the compliment and run home with it.
Look at us. So good, gracious, humble people.
Okay, everybody, get on reading and catch up with us, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerika Seron and Leah Sanfö. The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'dratherbereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.